Good evening. My name is Peggy Kell, and I'm the Voter Service Chair for the Oak Park River Forest League of Women Voters. This is our second forum tonight, and it'll be for the contested Oak Park Village President election. A recording of this evening will be posted on our website and also on the library's YouTube page for later viewing by people that couldn't make it tonight. The league does not endorse candidates, but we do believe that voters should hear from the people that are running to represent them. Our league has held candidate forums for all the contested races in Oak Park so far. You can visit our website calendar at lwvoprf.org to check the dates and the links to watch previous forums and to register for our upcoming OPRF High School Forum on March 13th. You can also submit questions for candidates in advance of this forum by emailing lwvoprf1924@gmail.com or submitting questions during the forum tonight through the question section of Zoom. The Oak Park Library, of course, is our valued partner in this forum. Thanks to Washri Swain and Amelia Vargas for their help with the technology for this event, and Amelia will be our timer tonight. Candidates will start with a 1-minute opening statement, followed by questions, and finishing with a 1-minute closing statement. Our two candidates tonight are Ravi Parakat and Vicky Skaman. Ravi, you will start first with the opening statement.
Thank you, Peggy, and good evening, everyone. Oak Park has immense potential, and I see local leadership as a way to unlock it. I've served as an Environment and Energy Commissioner and Village Trustee, championing public safety, racial equity, small businesses, sustainability, arts, and more. These are efforts that make Oak Park better for everyone. I founded Takeout 25 to bring the community together to support local restaurants during the pandemic. Takeout 25 continues to deliver local economic impact and address sustainability and food insecurity. Yet, Oak Park is falling behind. No major investments in 4 years, reckless spending, high taxes, an understaffed police department, and delayed key initiatives. As village president, I will prioritize safety, attract $500 million in private investments to reduce reliance on property taxes and ensure responsible governance. With 20 years of leadership experience in complex corporate and community efforts, I know how to build consensus, attract investments, pursue shared visions, and deliver results for Oak Park. I ask you for your vote on April 1st to build a stronger, safer, and inclusive Oak Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Vicky?
Thank you for having us this evening. Local elections are extremely important and becoming increasingly important every day. The League has always been at the forefront of access to voter information and informing civic engagement. I am Vicky Skaman, the current village president running for re-election on April 1. I served as a term as village clerk and 2 terms as chair of the Liquor Control Review Board, worked at the township, and ran a nonprofit. I am asking for your vote, particularly in these very uncertain and divisive times. I have a proven record of listening to a breadth of perspectives to build consensus and strategically advancing goals. I have long-standing relationships with local governmental partners, county, state, and federal elected representatives built on respect that will be vital as we will need to work together to advocate for and secure the resources to properly serve our community, steeped deeply in our values of diversity and inclusion, advancing sustainability, public safety, and affordability. Thank you.
Thank you. So Vicky, you'll start with the first question. How does a trustee and president's role differ on a village board?
Oh, I love this question. So thank you. So the village president does, works very closely with the village manager to make sure that the collective goals of the village board are represented and moving forward. The village president also works with each trustee to make sure that what they want to accomplish during their 4 years of service is really understood. I've instituted a goal-setting process that is very detailed and collaborative to guide that process. You're also the person who is somewhat the figurehead of the community. working with your governmental partners, bringing resources to your community, representing at all levels of government, participating in conferences, and continuing to bring new ideas to the community, driving a vision that you know is represented by the constituency that elected you.
Thank you. Ravi?
Both roles are at large, and they have a responsibility to the citizens who elected them. The trustee role is more around looking at an issue, bringing your perspective to that issue, studying that issue, and providing that perspective so that we have diverse perspectives informing a decision at the board table. The president's role is more on facilitation, so making sure that the broader vision for this community is best executed by collective action at the board table. So facilitating towards that in close consultation with the village manager would be where the president's role is. And then also as a brand ambassador for this community across all the different levels where our community needs to be represented externally. So that would be another important role for the village president.
Thank you. Ravi, you'll start this question off. What is the guiding principle or core belief that shapes your decision-making on key issues?
So the reason why I serve is to have impact in people's lives, right? So I come from a consulting corporate environment. I shifted over to public service, over the course of the last 5-6 years, largely driven by the desire to have a bigger impact in people's lives. So, when I look at a decision, I look at the human impact of that decision, and also I bring the rest of the experience that I have, 25 years of leadership experience and business experience that I have, to look at other aspects of impact, like financial aspects of the decision. So all those elements are important, and the impact on people is important, and it's informed by a set of values, and it is a set of shared values, especially in a community like ours, that we need to use to inform decisions.
Thank you. Vicki?
Yes, so I'm a very collaborative leader. A servant style leadership is what I've been known for in my time with nonprofit and township and working with our governmental partners. I work to build consensus. I want to listen to the breadth of perspectives of all residents of Oak Park and make sure that I'm representing the collective values. I respect the history of Oak Park and the leadership that we have in being a diverse and inclusive community. We've done a great deal over the years to be intentional in that. To have our own housing authority, for example, means we're petitioning the federal government to have access to vouchers. That obviously was very intentional in wanting to be diverse, and both socioeconomically and racially. I very, very much want to be responsive to strategic to our community concerns and strategic in that effort, making sure that we're bringing the right partners to the table to bring that with the talents and the resources and the experience to be effective.
Thank you. Vicki, you'll start this next question first. How would you attract tenants to the many empty storefronts in our various business district in Oak Park?
Okay. So our small business community is the heart of our village. I've enjoyed my time working with the chamber. I was on the board, Visit Oak Park. We're a very vibrant community. We have a relatively low at 3% vacancy rate right now across our village. But with the original OPEDC or OPDC model, that existed before the OPEDC more recently, was about small business and working with local community banks that don't really exist at the same level today that they once did, where you could go straight to the top and get have access to financial resources. But that model was really concentrated on recruiting that small business. I want our economic vitality plan for the future to be merging those talents with the what we saw with the OPEDC so that we have a more fluid path to recruitment in our community, where you're passing on that baton from the recruitment to the permitting process to the welcoming new businesses to our community and being intentional in our inclusionary goals.
Thank you. Ravi?
So Peggy, the question was, how will we fill in the empty storefronts, right?
What's your plans to help attract tenants to the many empty storefronts that we have in various business districts?
Yep.
Some of them are more popular or better
Yep.
visited than others, but the various ones.
Yeah, so I think from a village's perspective, right? So policy setting and process definition, right? So to make sure that people or the environment is set for people to come and do business or invest in the community in small businesses, is the stage is set, and the process, the permitting process, make that easier and smoother and frictionless for people to do that easily. Second aspect of it is now the small businesses, they come in through commercial developers, right? For example, David King in our local community has got a lot of these empty storefronts and is trying to fill that. So working very closely with partners like that who have access to new businesses that are wanting to come into our community. So that, along with how do you enable long-term sustainability? So when I look at an innovative idea like Takeout 25, that is about helping businesses thrive and sustain in the long run. So it is about attracting the businesses and also keeping the businesses that are here alive and strong for the long run.
Thank you. Ravi, you'll get this next question first. What does the Oak Park government currently do well, and what are the biggest areas of opportunity?
Yeah. So we have an excellent team at Oak Park, right? So across all our different departments, and we are constantly building that team. One of the areas that we've come a long way is around the communications, right? So both internal communication as well as external communication from the village. I've seen that streamlined a lot over the last few years. The other one that we do well is inclusive events. So making sure that we have events that are really inclusive. Now, from an opportunity standpoint, there are several opportunities, especially two. One is around the use of technology in how we enable services for our residents. That would be a big one. And second thing is how we develop this community for the future and diversify our tax base. So at the moment, we're just spending tax dollars. I want to attract investments into this community to diversify our tax base. And I'm looking at attracting $500 million in investments to make sure that we are building this community for the future.
Thank you. Vicki?
Yes, so talking with a lot of our neighboring communities and working with them very closely. One of the biggest differences with Oak Park is all of the partner actual relationships that we've got. Everything from the Oak Park Housing Authority to Residents Corporation, Housing Forward, the Oak Park Homelessness Coalition. We're contracts with our township, the Oak Park Area Arts Council. These are things that most communities don't have. And they elevate the vibrancy and the inclusive nature, the diversity, and the reaching our goals and bringing additional resources to the table that most communities don't have and have those relationships. That's something we do really well. There's always opportunity to strengthen those and make sure that our goals are intentional, that they're identified, that and that we're constantly reviewing that so that their vision is going further. And so, well, thank you.
Again, if you want to finish a statement on the next question or save something for your closing statement, you certainly can do that also. All right, both of you answered that already, right? Okay. Let's see, Vicki, you're going to get this next question first.
Okay.
The last few administrations have been focusing on developing high-rise condo buildings, apartment buildings, with the strategy that more people in the area would bring more demand for businesses in the area. How does the village track that to make sure that that strategy actually is a good one?
Yeah, I don't know that data is going to come back very quickly. We have increased the number of data points that we do collect, including on diversity, which we had stopped doing for a bit, so that we can be more accurate. And our revenue sources, we're going to be building out different revenue policies so that we are educating the community in our budget process about how these different revenue sources work. And in our strategic vision for housing, I do believe that we need to be recruiting diverse revenue sources, that we can't just be leaning in on new residents, but bringing in different types of businesses that are raising the potential for new revenue sources. And much of that is going to be laid out in our economic vitality plan, and is then crossed with our strategic vision for housing and opportunities for growth.
Thank you. Ravi?
Yeah, so I think the strategy to build some density where the foot traffic supports local businesses and vibrancy is an established fact. There are several researches out there that establish that fact. Having said that, I think for a community like ours, where we have several advantages and several assets that we need to leverage and need to work with each other for us to move forward. For example, our historic architectural elements, they're economic assets as well that need to be protected. And there are business districts that currently are underinvested. So making sure that we identify where we can create development, where we can attract investments to then thoughtfully build out this community to where there is missing housing versus where new businesses can come and thrive, and creating that composition and attract, and using dollars we attract, investment dollars we attract, that would be the way I would approach it.
Thank you. Ravi, go first on this one. Are you committed to supporting the Oak Park Regional Housing Center and keeping Oak Park an intentionally integrated community? What should be its future?
So Oak Park Regional Housing Center is the reason why I'm sitting here, right? So I came into this community through the Regional Housing Center. So I have a lot of sentimental attachment to that entity, and also its legacy and what it's done for this community over the years. Having said that, the fact remains that there are some financial deficiencies and situations that are that entity is going through. So if those efficiencies or deficiencies are corrected, and if we can align their focus and activities to our housing needs and strategy that we have as a village, then I would absolutely be willing to support the Regional Housing Center.
Thank you. Vicki?
Yes, I do believe that the history behind our relationship with the Oak Park Regional Housing Center is incredibly important. And it is, and it really does require us to go that extra mile and see how we can't mend that relationship. But it does have to be data driven. It does have to be accountable. I have sat down with Athena and different members of her previous board, and would hope that potential is there. When investing in our strategic vision for housing, there is an opportunity for that relationship with the housing center. But we really do need to work on building that trust back up and maintaining the level of accountability that this board has demanded. And I'm not going to back down on that part, but I do want to work hard to see how we can't work together.
Thank you. Vicki, you'll start this next question. What changes, if any, would you favor on the way the village does its budgeting and fiscal planning, and why?
Okay, so I led on wanting to see a fiscal policy, is that it helps educate not just the board, but also the community at large on how it is that we would determine an appropriate and responsible levy, and then have that guide the process. I would also be very interested in considering adding residents to our appointed residents to a finance committee. We've seen that work at the township, D200, D97. And I think in order to be as transparent as possible in our budgeting process, and even maybe be, providing an opportunity for future elected people who are interested in running for office to walk in with more understanding and having had an active role would be really good for us as a community at large.
Thank you. Robbie?
Yep. I would start with a long-range financial plan that we have to make sure that we are looking at things holistically and in a connected fashion. The second aspect of it is we start the budgeting process too late in the year. I think if we give ourselves a little more time to thoughtfully go through where we may be able to optimize and how we can get to the right budget with the level of transparency that we seek, that would be another improvement. And also discussing the items which are discretionary, where we have the ability to optimize, or spending more time there versus also prioritizing where we spend time within the budgeting process to make sure that it's efficient would be third. And the last one is leveraging the finance committee to do the heavy lifting to inform the board so that we use the efficiencies of that. At this point, the entire board attends all the sessions, so that is not efficient. So if we can use a better, more efficient way to get to the outcome, that would also be an improvement.
Thank you. Ravi, you'll start this next one first. What do you see as the responsibility of the housing developers and building owners? How can the village work more closely with them to address the various housing issues?
Yeah, so that's a complicated one. So the developers and the housing providers, they're the ones who build supply within our community, right? So for the most part, a lot of our affordable building stock is with these housing providers. So they play a vital role in keeping the composition of our community the way it is. All the values that we hold dear are enabled through the housing stock that we have. That said, we need to encourage them to look at options where we have gaps in our continuum, right? So making sure that developers, are working with us to understand the needs of this community and the vision and the direction that we want to go, and enabling that with the right policy making and looking at tweaks that are needed from a zoning perspective or what have you to get that outcome that we want as a community would be where I would focus.
Thank you. Vicki?
Yeah, I would like to have like a transparent, so this is another thing that we're actually working on right now. Transparent in recruitment of new development, like what kind of incentive plans that we would be interested in as a board. We're thinking about that in advance so that we understand what the benefit is to the community and at what level of investment we're looking for the taxpayer and in return. And have that be that transparency so that I think it actually helps in recruiting new developers because they understand how we're willing to work with them. As far as the building owners that we have today, making sure that we maintain those relationships, which we actually do have. There's different groups where many of those major landowners participate in, and they help us inform things on things like homelessness, on building vibrancy in our communities and investment in infrastructure. So making sure that we keep that relationship building, but that we also then are communicating the goals that we have as a community are intentional and the incentives that we would need to reach those goals.
Thank you. Vicki, start the next question first. What are your plans to update our aging infrastructure? More specifically, updates our aging inefficient buildings?
Yes. Okay, so it's really no new conversation that it is me that wants to see the village hall rehabbed. The police station is a priority, and that first. But we need, where we have an Aging and Communities Commission, and we have a Disability Access Commission, and I want to be true and genuine to that those things are important to us. We have older infrastructure, so we need to lead by example. And we also, with Village Hall, since I've already mentioned it, you know, there's some things that we have to do to maintain the building and be able to keep it as the historical building that it is. So first, kind of leading from example in that way, but then, you know, in our community, we have facade grants, we have other types of grants to help all different types of landowners and individual homeowners and businesses invest in their property to make sure that it's staying in good condition. And that's important to keep up.
Thank you. Ravi?
So the Village Hall facility discussion, right? What started several years back as a police station and a necessary, urgent, established need. In 2023, when that came to first time to the board that we are a part of, I was a part of, you know, we decided to link that to a Village Hall demolition rebuild. And that has delayed the high priority police station by 2 years. And we are still waiting for even a plan. We're starting at ground zero. And, you know, we've discussed to death a Village Hall proposal, and the costs are staggering. It's $150 million. And by the time you finance it and build it and relocate people and what have you, it could very well be $200 million. And that lands on the community very heavily, right? It's like thousands of dollars extra taxes per household. And we can talk all we want about inclusivity, but if we're not careful about our costs, we will push and price people out of this community. So infrastructure development has to be well thought, and that is the importance of a long-range financial plan where we take our needs, and not our wants, our needs, and prioritize them based on what is financially feasible by a community like ours.
Thank you. Ravi, you'll get this question first. List 3 ways to raise revenue without raising taxes to meet all of the proposed projects being considered by the village.
Yeah, so for all the proposed projects, all our wants included, it is going to be very difficult to do that without raising taxes significantly. And you know, the exact numbers are not established, but it is going to hurt a lot of people and hit a lot of households very hard, enough to make people, you know, take drastic decisions to move out of the community. But I think there is an opportunity for us to really diversify our tax base by attracting private investments. Our development strategy has been, let's take tax dollars and let's use that to develop the community. I want to change that completely and say, let's leverage our tax dollars and attract private investments to come in to thoughtfully develop specific areas that we've cleared for development, to diversify our tax base so that all the burden does not fall on our property tax or residential or residents in general. So there is opportunity to do that, but not to the extent of meeting all the wants that we currently have as a village.
Thank you. Vicki?
Okay, so first of all, the village board has said many times no to $150 million for the Village Hall facility, which includes the cost of the police station, yet my opponent keeps putting that out there even when he knows it's incorrect. And it was never meant to be fully tax funded either, which actually brings us back to this question. So there's increasing metropolitan or municipality desire to see public-private partnerships. And I'm one of the founding mayors of Cross Community Climate Collaborative that has brought more than $3 million to our region for climate change. And that's an example of diversifying our revenue sources. And that's where we've got both a public or a for-profit partner as well as a nonprofit partner that expands the opportunities for seeking funds, whether through grants or corporate partnerships. We want to continue, as my opponent did say, diversify our revenue sources with attracting new types of businesses that contribute to our tax base as well. And as well as federal and state grants, which I'm otherwise very, very good at recruiting for.
Thank you. Vicki, you'll start this next question. What are your thoughts on the large number of open police positions of our Oak Park Police Department?
Yes, so it is a national challenge, which we've responded in several different ways. We've really reviewed at the pay scales as well as the incentives for working here in Oak Park, recruiting, meaning that we have added health and wellness to our resources, and maternity leave for both men and women. We've approved lateral moves from neighboring communities, and we are going to invest in and prioritize the police station. Now, in 2019, the previous board did vote no for a new police station, said it was bad, but not bad enough for the tax cost. Right now, this is a huge accomplishment that we've got all 7 members of the current board that understand that prioritizing that police station so that we're treating our police officers well and actually have positive engagement with the community to meet our needs is a priority.
Thank you. Ravi?
So first and foremost, I think we need to create an environment of trust, right? And the police department needs to feel respected, and very often, especially in discussions like FLOC, FLOC is automated license plate readers, their expert opinion is often ignored, and they're put in a very tough position, and that impacts morale. So making sure that we are creating an environment of starting from a place of trust with the police department is going to be important for us to attract new talent. Second thing is, we have taken the necessary police station build out and linked it to the village hall conversation. And that is delayed it by at least 2 years at this point. We still don't have a plan for it. How do we attract police officers to come and work in the department that currently exists? That's not possible. Third is investment in technology. So making sure that we are actually enabling and supporting our police department by the right use of technology. That's also going to be really important to be able to attract new talent. And then, looking at pay and lateral hiring and retention related components to make sure that we are adjusting them to right shape it for our needs is also going to be very key.
Okay, Ravi, you're going to get this next question first.
Yep.
How do you reconcile the fact that the cost to live and do business in Oak Park continues to rise, and that makes us continues to make us less diverse because the costs rise? Yet diversity is mentioned in every single village board discussion.
Yep. Great question, because this is the issue that I have with, every time we justify something in the name of our values, we don't really assess the impact of our actions on how that value is lived out, right? So saying our values many times is easy, but actually executing policy and decisions that enable those values is where the issue is, that we currently have. So again, the example of the village hall, where we're willing to spend a staggering amount of money to then add that to the tax base, and it falls on residents very heavily. Their tax bill goes up. It pushes a lot of seniors out of our community. It pushes a lot of people who are just hanging on to our community. And then we say we want to be inclusive. So it doesn't true up from our perspective. And that's just one example. There are so many examples of expenses that are reckless, and it's a death by 1,000 cuts.
Thank you. Vicki? Okay, so we do need to also consider adding more additional affordable housing. And again, to go back to a strategic plan, I'm a very strategic leader. Everything that we've got has a strategic plan attached to it, so that it's not just the village board right now that is implementing these into the future, but we're leaving a roadmap for future boards as well, and that can continually be reviewed and revised. This village board has been the most responsible village board in recent, fiscally responsible village board in recent history. We are less than 3% on average for our annual levy. We've got, as I said earlier, finance policies that are going to be building that transparency to the community. This board hears very, very clearly under my leadership that affordability is also a challenge with every conversation at the same time that we're mentioning diversity. But it doesn't mean that adding that we just have to be intentional on how. And so diversifying our stocks, our housing stock, and being intentional with affordable housing has to go hand in hand as well as some of the, the grants and things that we make available to our residents that help them stay in place.
Thank you. Vicki, you'll get this next question first. Past November, 85% of Oak Park voters supported a non-binding referendum adopting initiative rights, demonstrating approval for this democratic tool. Given this public approval, do you support establishing an initiative rights in Oak Park?
I'm always interested in how residents' concerns can be heard and responded to at the village board table. I appreciate how the organizers on this particular referendum question have expressed a continued interest in working with the village, working with our legal team and our staff to address what we do understand our concerns. And so with that partnership, I am certainly willing to continue that work and can see how in this political climate, the importance is to have those safeguards in how your government responds to your needs, to be an interest in questions, to be more important. So since I can answer that as quickly as I did, the Village Hall, the conversation to police station has not been delayed 2 years. We're the first board to actually take action on it. It started in 2022 and we're in early 2025 and we're going to be making a decision before the end of next month.
Thank you. Ravi?
So on the ballot initiative, I'm fully supportive of it. Ultimately, democracy is, by the people, for the people, of the people, and sharing that power with the community and giving the community an option to bring something forth that the board may have missed is something that I think we should definitely support in the interest of democracy, and I fully endorse that. And again, going back to the 2 points, one is around the levy being 3% or lower. Right? So we got $38 million in federal funding, ARPA funding. Our expenses, if you look at it, have gone up significantly over the last 4 years, and we've been able to keep the levy flat at 3%, largely because of the fact that we have that extra funding, plus the fact that because of the police department 30% short-staffed, a lot of that went into our reserves, which gave us additional funds to kind of deploy it. But our budget is not in full balance in terms of the amount of expenses that we've incurred is not corresponding to the 3% levy that we are talking about.
Thank you. Ravi, you'll start this next question. What are your priorities for major capital projects in the near future and long term?
So definitely the police facility would be the highest priority because it has been delayed for such a long time. And contrary to what President Cayman may say, it has definitely been delayed in front of my own eyes over the last, 2.5 years. So that is going to be a high priority. And then, there are basic infrastructure elements that the residents expect of a municipality, like roads and alleys. So that is on a schedule. I'll make sure that that is funded. And then there is the lead replacement project, which is looming out there. We don't know exactly what the implications of that are. So keeping an eye on that, because that we'll need to comply with on a schedule. The streetscape projects, making sure that they are, they're on our radar, make sure that our business districts are well supported through that is going to be important. And then, over a longer horizon, looking at, Village Hall and see if, any renovation needs to happen to it, would be, I'd be open to that conversation, but not at the expense of any of the other priorities.
Thank you. Vicki?
So the police department is the #1 priority. And Village Hall. I don't know how it is that you take the police staff out of the basement right now and move them and don't expect that you need to have a plan for how you're going to address the OSHA violations that currently would exist. We do want to continue to support our small business community because, as we've already heard, that we have our eye on the lead pipe replacement and the cost that's going to occur, and we're very actively looking for how it is that we're going to be able to afford that over time, and bringing those new revenue sources, supporting our small business community and the infrastructure so that we continue to grow and are vibrant. There are two looming projects that I don't know that they're as well known that do eventually need to be addressed. One is the viaduct at Harlem Avenue, but at the end of the Metro Green Line. And so myself and Kathy Adducci and from River Forest and Mayor Rory Hoskins, we have continued to engage our higher elected officials on how it is that we could eventually see grant dollars for that, as well as the bridges that are over 290 Expressway.
Thank you. Vicki, you'll start this next one. If elected, what would be your number one objective for the board and the village?
Well, okay. We haven't talked a lot about sustainability tonight yet. And, you know, making sure that I think the fact that Oak Park is a leader in sustainability and knowing that we want to keep investing in that intersects with a lot of our other goals. So maybe that's a potential answer for this, but there certainly are a lot of very important things that are going to be needed to be addressed in the next 4 years. Because that addresses the sustainability goals, overlaps with our economic vitality, our housing. It overlaps with tourism and bringing. So right now we are a community that brings a lot of people into our community to see our Frank Lloyd Wright homes and studios. But now we're a community that has several net zero buildings as well. And so to be that national leader is I think, aligned with a vision that I have for our community.
Robbie?
So we have a 30% shortfall in our police department staffing, and that is impacting our ability to keep the community safe. Without safety, there's not much of a community at all, right? So definitely that would be a priority. Now, we know the federal situation and the possibility of our funding being at risk for some of the essential services. So fiscal responsibility to make sure that we are responsibly stewarding our resources is going to be critically important in an environment like this. So those two aspects are going to be fundamental to us having a healthy community moving forward. And then on top of that, we can build economic engines. So bringing in investments, as I said, $500 million of investments, leveraging our tax dollars to diversify our ways to bring down our reliance on property taxes. So those three aspects would be high priority for me.
Well, our 45 minutes has just flown by here. So I think we will start with our closing statements so we can stay on time here. So Ravi, you're going to have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you, Peggy. Oak Park needs balanced leadership that is focused and effective in pursuing a shared vision. Leadership that listens, leads, and delivers results. Over the past 4 years, we've seen reckless spending, missed opportunities, and policies that burden residents. I've fought for fiscal responsibility, public safety, and sustainable growth, efforts that make life better for everyone. Fiscal responsibility has never been more important than now with federal funding at risk. As village president, I'll prioritize safety, attract $500 million in private investments to reduce reliance on property taxes, and ensure effective governance to build a shared future. This election is about the future of Oak Park. We can and must do better. I'm ready to lead. I ask for your vote on April 1st to build a stronger, safer, and more inclusive Oak Park. For more, please visit voteforravi.com. Thank you and good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Vicki?
Yes, thank you so much for hosting this evening. All of these questions have been very interesting. The 1 minute does go by very, very quickly.
It does.
We could expand on all of the questions in great deal, and actually it would be fun to be able to do so. But still, this has been great. So the example that I just had of in my last question of understanding our needs very deeply, with the viaduct, at Harlem Avenue. And then already so far into the future, identifying what resources I can leverage and what approach I can take to lobbying of $4 is an example of my effective leadership already. I mean, every problem that has come our way, I've been able to lead in a way that now has, like with the migrant response, it's become a national model. I'm also wanted to say that I'm extremely proud of our alternative response at ECHO, and that's another thing that I would really want to invest in immediately for the next 4 years and building that out, again, overlapping with a lot of the needs that our community sees. So thank you so much for tonight.
Well, thank you too. I appreciate your time in answering all these questions, and I'm sure the public appreciates getting to know you a little bit better. And thank you for choosing to run, because it is, as we all know, it's not an easy thing to do. We are one of the few communities that do have contested elections, and it's a good thing to have a contested election, to give people choices on who represent them. And I just want to remind you that a recording of this forum will be on our website and also the library's YouTube page once it gets compiled here. And early voting does start Monday, March 17th at the Village Hall, and Election Day is Tuesday, April 1st. And remember, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, whoever, that they need to vote in this election, because local elections are important. Thank you, and thank you to everybody who spent their time with us tonight.